Hello to anyone watching this. I think the character rosters are the most fun part of any Mario Kart game. You know, just going through the cast and picking out my favourites. I just think it's a very interesting thing to look at. And with the inclusion of the coloured Yoshis and Shy Guys in Mario Kart 8's Wii U DLC, I think costumes have become just as big a part of the conversation, you know? So it's always a shame in Mario Kart character rankings that the colours and costumes are never considered. Like, they might get mentioned, but they're never counted as part of the actual ranking. But you know, I for one am not a pussy. So today I am going to personally rank every single Mario Kart character, costume and clone. And with that I got to a total of 366. You know, a very respectable number. The way I've separately counted it is by just making sure that they wear something different compared to every other costume that character has. Which might sound a bit vague and petty, but trust me, you'll see what I mean as we go on. The only things I haven't counted are the princesses' biker outfits, as they come as a package with the main character. You know, I count them together. And also Robo Mario from Mario Kart Arcade GP DX or 2 or 1 or whichever. You know, nobody cares about him. He wasn't actually playable. He can just sit on the sidelines. You know, he wouldn't be that high up anyway. And you know, since a lot of the time my opinion on a costume will be heavily influenced by my opinion of a character, you know, a lot of these things are going to be clumped together in their own specific groups. So sorry if there's any very specific costumes that you wanted me to go in depth on, because there's a good chance I'm going to be just glazing over them. Like, I will obviously still talk about them, it'll just be as sort of a part of the group that they're in, you know? And very obviously this is all going to be about exposing my taste in character. Like, I would be concerned if anybody had the exact same order as me, so just sort of enjoy the ride for what it is, you know, enjoy me just bitching about everyone rather than finding reasons to agree or disagree with me. So with all the preamble out of the way, the most no good, vile, scum of the earth Mario character is Lime Green Inkling Girl. Like, literally nothing about her works, you know, she's got putrid green hair, a horrible pasty face, ugly fashion sense. Like, I don't know why she's not brought up more often as the worst Mario Kart character. Like, I see no reason for her not to get hate. It's just mainly her complexion and her fashion sense. Like, if those two things were better, I basically have nothing to complain about. But we got what we got, you know, somebody had to be at the bottom, and it's unfortunately her. Swiftly coming up behind her are classic Mario and Luigi. And I've just never liked these colour palettes. There's something just so dreary and miserable about them. Like, even in terms of being a reference to classic Mario Bros games, I think they fall flat. Like, I think it would have been better if in Mario Kart Tour they just shoved in Fire Mario and Ice Luigi instead. Like, these two would not be missed if they never existed, you know? On to undoubtedly the most contentious part of this entire ranking. I am really not a fan of the Wario Bros. I find their design, demeanour, their voices just ridiculously grating. Like, obviously I can understand how other people would find appeal in them. It's just, for me, I just despise them. And obviously their costumes can't exactly do much to help. Even if the hiker outfit does look very cozy and would absolutely be something I would wear. Waluigi does place higher, simply because he's not as viscerally disgusting as Wario to me. And he does have better costumes than Wario overall. You know, I really do like the bus driver outfit. Like, Tarzan is his look, but still just not for me. I just don't like them. And Wendy as well, I've just never gotten on with. Like, a drab shade of pink, weird big lips, a nasty bitchy attitude. I've just never gotten on with her, really. I do absolutely adore Yoshi and Shy Guy, but I really don't like these colours on them. Like, they have good shades of yellow, it's just the green shoes are giving way too much banana in a way that I just can't get behind. And the shade on Green Shy Guy is just a bit drab for me, you know. Just nothing about these add up, especially when there are so many better colours for them. These three just get propelled down to the bottom of the barrel. Another one of my hottest takes is that I massively prefer Mario series King Boo to Luigi's Mansion King Boo. Like, to me he's just a goofy little guy, you know, so to see him this scaried up is just sort of off. Like, I can totally understand why this look would be better for people. It's just never done anything for me, you know. His tongue just works better in pink, I guess. But those are the only characters that I am negative towards. Like, everything up from here I enjoy in one way or another, you know. It's all positivity from here. Just some characters I'm more positive on than others, you know. And starting the positivity with the main reason that this list is so long, we have the first of the Mii costumes. And while I never liked having the helmet on, I still think every Mii costume is fun to have around, you know. It's just these four colours I'm the most apathetic towards, you know. Take it or leave it, but they're still well designed, you know. Onto the first major character dump, we have what I like to dub the fancy dress gang. And it's like, while I find all of these to be fun in their own way, like the shades of red on Mario always work, it's just something about dressing up as a profession I just never really clicked with. Like, what I just said is definitely going to be contradicted later on, but I just find there's something kind of uninspired about these costumes, you know. No matter how good they look, they'll always feel like just sort of weird, needless inclusions to have. Getting back onto the Mii parade, I find this selection is sort of hampered by the need to represent a character rather than actually look like the character. Like, especially looking at a lot of the grand designs that Tour's Mii costumes have, to sort of look back at all of these almost generic colour ones with some logos slapped on them, it's just not the vibe. Going into more specifics, I find the use of the overalls on the Mario and Wario Bro suits to really not work. Like, I think it would have been a lot more fun if they had way more red and green, etc. on them. With the dry Bowser and Bowser suits, it would have been a lot more fun if they properly had a shell on the back of them, you know, because they just very much look like generic biker suits. The princess's suits, I do really enjoy the crown on top, and the shade of orange on Daisy's suit is perfect, but the fact there's no skirt-like elements or anything, just like I said, makes them so much more generic to me. The Hylian suit almost feels like it's just here because Link had an amiibo. You know, it would have been so much better if it was actually based on a character rather than barely even looking like one of the soldiers on Hyrule Circuit. The question block suit, I think, could have benefited from resembling something more like the Koopa Clown suit. You know, just have the helmet be the question block while the suit is the sort of environment you find it in. You know, basically just make it a Super Mario Bros. Level on a body outfit. I think that would have been a lot cuter than what we got, but I still do like the almost onesie looking outfit he has. The Toad and Toadette outfits, I think, really could have benefited from having something that kind of resembles the vests that they wear, you know, rather than just plain basic coloured stripes. And the Santa and Chef outfits really just seem like cute but generic fodder for the Mii suit lineup. Next, I find these colours a lot more vibrant, you know, especially purple looks amazing in Tour, and something about how solid all the colours are and everything just makes me appreciate them more than the ones based on characters, you know? See, these three suits benefit a lot more from being based on the character that they're representing. You know, obviously the Captain Falcon Mii suit is the closest we're ever going to get to him being a playable character. But I find even though the Splatoon suit isn't based on an Inkling, this works a lot better. Like, it's just heavily based on a dirt bike outfit, which I really love. But these other basic colour 8/Tour me suits just hit a bit better for me. Like I said, the solid colours just appeal to me, and especially with ones this vibrant, I can't help but love them. Orange is my absolute favourite colour, but something about this shade is just a couple notches off from being perfect, unlike red, so that's why that's above it for me in this instance. Moving out of the 300s, these are me suits that properly represent the characters that they are based on, you know. Like, the Kirby one is obviously this far up because of the Kirby face on the back, like, you can't beat that. And the Samus one just has loads of lovely shades of orange that I really appreciate. And like I've been implying, it's just nice when a character's me suit can more properly represent that character, you know? It all really just comes down to the helmets. There's just something appealing about them having a more distinct shape than just a sphere. Like, sorry if at any point it doesn't seem like I can properly explain why one thing is better than the other, but I just appreciate the funny shaped helmets, I guess. Next up is all of the male me suit bees, which nobody has properly catalogued, so I've just had to sort of grab screenshots from a video that I'll credit below. But yeah, the thing that makes certain colours work better than others in this set is basically just how well they match with the colour blue, which is a lot easier for some colours than others. Like, the poor blue one just looks like it's got nipple tassels on and nothing else, you know? But others like red and orange have always worked with blue for me, and this is the highest you're ever going to see black in any of these colour selections. But the main reason that these are all above the previous me suits, despite me not appreciating some of these colour combos, is simply because they don't have helmets. You know, I think a lot of the Mii's character can come out with their hair, so to be able to see that is always a positive, you know? Like, there are plenty of me suits that do work better with helmets, but just something about letting it all flow, it just works for me, you know? Next are these night suits, which probably would have been a lot higher if it wasn't for Luigi's Tour night suit. But these still have a lot of appeal, you know, they're nice and shiny and metal and just all those wonderful things. And I do find the helmets really endearing in their own way. Like, I know they don't have the cool face guards and stuff, but they're still just really sweet, you know? Next is Ghostly Adventures Pac-Man, which I would definitely consider distinct enough from the Pac-Man that appears in the rest of the arcade series, you know? And while I don't hate this look as much as other people, I still don't find it the best, you know? It's quite sanitised and corporate compared to the more happy-go-lucky looking Pac-Man of the other games, you know? Like, the fact that it's Pac-Man carries it above all of the previous characters, but it can still only get so far with that design, you know? And now for just an assortment of some cool me suit designs. Like, I will always appreciate the fact that they went for a Pac-Maze design for the Pac-Man suit, and they stuck a little Pikmin clinging on for dear life to the helmet of the Pikmin suit. I love the cute little detail of a flag popping out the castle me suit's head. And like I said before, the Koopa Clown suit is just such a cool concept that I can't help but love. And not only does the Animal Crossing suit have a great design, but it's something from Animal Crossing that's not based on Isabelle, which is always refreshing to see. And the reindeer me suit is just cute, you know. Next are the metal tier me suits, and just something about nice shiny metal is always satisfying to see, especially when it's in a nice dome shape. Like, there's no notes. Like I said, I enjoy solid colours, and these are some very lovely solid colours, so... And the same applies for Silver and Metal Mario, which are legally distinct. The reason that these are lower than all of the other metal forms is because not only are these the most underwhelming colours of metal, but just because something about seeing Mario in these forms are just less compelling than any other characters, if that makes any kind of sense. Next up is the first half of colours for me outfit A, which, like I said, just having the helmet off gives them a lot more appeal, and the solid colours are lovely. I just prefer some solid colours to others, I'm afraid. Like, if you haven't noticed already, brown will pretty much always be at the bottom of me suit colours for me. It's just a bit drab, you know? And now for plain Jane Luigi and Ice Luigi. And I have always liked Luigi, I think he's a cool enough character, but something about Mario, like, I prefer red as a colour, I prefer his cooler attitude personally, so sadly for me at least, Luigi ranks below him, which I know isn't the same for a lot of others, but sorry. Now we're getting on to the female me outfit B, and before I actually put all of the rankings together, I thought this set would be a lot lower than it ended up being. Like, the more casual shoes and the slightly darker toned leggings and the blue peach jewel, it all just works surprisingly well for me. Like, even the brown works surprisingly well with the light blue. Like, no other notes, give us that Motherquake. And here we have the basis of the entire series alongside some of his other costumes, which, like, the costumes that I put sort of next to the basic form of a character are sort of the ones that I see practically on the same level as that basic form. Like, not that they're interchangeable, obviously, it would be a completely different world if we had Santa Mario instead of basic Mario, but you know what I mean? I see them as sort of the same quality. And just with the little detail of the white beard and eyebrows, I find this Santa Mario a lot more appealing than the home circuit one, you know? And the suits I find look really dapper, especially in combination with his gloves. And Fire Mario is just always a great remix of normal Mario's colours. You know, the comments here might sound a bit basic, but they are for a basic bitch, so, you know. Next is the rest of the female me outfit Bs. And like I said, the composition of this is just so amazing, and the colours are brilliant, and just no notes, you know? I think out of all of the times that red is the highest colour in a set, this is where it's the highest, you know? Those red leggings just look impeccable. With Halloween Mario and Luigi, you can basically just take all of the compliments that I gave their basic looks and add on a cute pumpkin head and a nice shade of purple cape, you know? Like, whenever it comes to a toss-up between the same outfit for Mario and Luigi, I'll pretty much always put Mario ahead, but especially here with the combination of red, purple and orange, like, yes please. Next to the first of the baby princesses, and I've always found all of the babies quite inoffensive, you know? They have nice enough designs apart from the short hair, but there's not much you can do about that, you know? Also, the colour of their shoes and their proportionally bigger light blue jewels just really help them pop out a bit, you know? But Baby Peach Cherub is below these two simply because not as much of what I just said applies to her, so it just doesn't work as well for me. With the Metal Luigis, like I implied, it is just more fun to see Luigi in metal form than Mario, you know? Although similarly, I do think that Gold Mario is more fun than Gold Luigi, if that makes any sense. Like, I'm really not trying to weave myself into a web, I just find it hard to articulate my opinion sometimes, you know? But these two are cool nonetheless. And the self-prescribed curse of the orange variant not being my favourite of anything in this series continues with Yoshi. Like, not only is his shade of orange a bit off, but I think in this instance the blue really clashes with it and makes it far less appealing to me. Like, obviously Yoshi is still Yoshi, and the red parts along his back do work well with the orange. It's just something about the shoes. It's always the shoes with Yoshi. Next to the first few Mario and Luigi costumes that I find to be properly better than the original forms, for one reason or another. Like, going through them, pretty much any character looks better with a chef hat and an ascot. You know, I prefer playing as Dr. Mario compared to Mario in Smash Bros, so that probably influenced me a lot there. Literally everything about the snowsuits look incredibly cozy, and I just really like the shine adorned shirt, you know. I don't know why that hasn't been sold in real life yet. Like, I'd buy that instantly. With Daisy, if I ranked all the characters a few years ago, she definitely would have been a lot lower. But as I get older, I just increasingly appreciate the notion of just driving a go-kart wearing a big frilly dress. The farmer look is slightly below because while I do love the use of orange and the headband and everything looks sweet, it's just the fact that she's not wearing a dress. It just makes it ever so slightly less appealing. And Holiday Cheer is slightly above simply because it's extremely cheery, you know? I love the shade of red and the black leggings work with it really well and the hat's really sweet. It's just everything about it is just lovely and Christmassy, you know? While I do prefer Daisy's colouring to Peach's, there's just something about her demeanour that I find so much more appealing these days. Like the fact that she's this relatively chill princess in a lovely elegant dress, driving go-karts and everything else that she does. I just find a lot of humour in that these days. But the reasons why I put these looks for Peach at the same level as her normal look are pretty much the same reasons why I put the equivalent looks for Mario and Luigi where they were, you know? Like her Halloween look adds a lovely dash of purple to her design, and, you know, if Dr. Peach was in Smash, I'd play as her more than regular Peach. Vacation and Kimono are just like good looks in general, but with Cat Peach, while she's obviously at the top of this group, she is obviously below literally any other animal form that I'm going to talk about. It's just something about having all of these cat features with Peach. It's just not as endearing as it is with the other characters, you know? Still a great look, it's just not as much for me. But yeah, like I said, if I ranked these all a few years ago, all of this would have ended up way lower, so it is what it is, I guess. Momechi is definitely one of, if not the most needless Mario Kart characters ever. Like, even in terms of Namco wildcards they could have gone for the arcade games, there are probably so many better options than her. But I still think she's really sweet. You know, Tamagotchis are sort of designed to be universally appealing, so it does make sense in that regard why she was picked, and I don't really have any reason to complain about her existing, you know? I mean, if she appeared in a mainline Mario Kart game, I would be slightly taken aback, but still, you know, I don't have any real need to question her existence here. And here are the rest of the Mii outfit A's, and it's like, I've gone through so many Mii suits at this point that there's not really anything else to say about them. But I do have to congratulate Orange for finally getting first place within a lineup of coloured Mii suits. You know, the little bit of white that comes with it, I think just works better than on red this time. So, well done Orange, you finally did it. Next are both villagers, which while I can understand why some people wouldn't exactly put them next to each other in a ranking, for me personally their positives and negatives sort of balance each other out in the end. Like, I like male villagers' more casual look just as much as I like female villagers' colour composition, you know, all these things balance out for me. But in the end, female villager gets the slight edge just because, you know, I prefer her facial features and she does have a really sweet dress on. But like I said, these two are pretty much the same in my book anyway. While I detest the fact that Peachette got into 8 Deluxe in the end, you know, she's still Peach, but with a better looking dress and a funnier voice. It's like I enjoy having her around in tour, you know, she's a fun costume there. And the fact that I know that it's Toadette underneath the crown makes her more appealing in general. I just genuinely think there's a non-zero chance that if she wasn't in 8 Deluxe, I'd probably put her a bit higher. So, her own fault. Next is all the rest of the babies. And while Mario would be above Luigi in pretty much every other instance, I think just something about baby Luigi's more scaredy cat demeanour is much more appealing to me than baby Mario's more heroic demeanour. And while baby Rosalina is absolutely a waste of space, I think she's just sort of a funnier waste of space, you know? At least she's completely different appearance-wise to Rosalina, unlike someone like Peachette. Plus the fact that she's based on Rosalina at all, like even down to the cool hair going over the eye, just puts her way up higher than the other female babies for me. And as for their tour costumes, unlike Baby Peach Cherub, these ones rank above the base forms because they're basically just cute little outfit pieces clipped onto their initial designs, which I think is a lot better than an entire new outfit, you know? Similarly to the villagers, I find that both forms of Link have the same amount of positives and negatives that means that they end up right next to each other. While they're both extremely cool looks for Link, and I do more often prefer him wearing a hat, just something about Breath of the Wild's outfit is just ever so slightly more casual in a way that I find appealing, in this instance at least. Like, obviously both looks are meant to be sort of basic adventuring gear, but just something about Breath of the Wild Link looks more like he's ready for a go-kart race, if that makes any sense. The Tanuki boys are definitely, you know, cute, but that's the long and short of it for me, unfortunately. Like, of course their designs are nice and appealing and everything, but just the sort of beige and brown tones mixed with the white gloves just make them less appealing than they could be, for me at least. Kitsune is better than Tanuki for me in the end because I think his colour palette is just that little bit better. And like, don't get it twisted, I still do love these two. It's just like I said, the colour palette, man, that's always what gets me. And here is the general consensus for number 366, almost halfway up the list for me. Like, it's the same sort of thing as with Baby Rosalina. I just find the concept of her just farcically funny. Plus I think her colour palette's quite nice, and I do really like that her character is just pretty much a smug Peach. Like, she knows she's gold and is absolutely gonna flex, you know? Just something about that is just kind of appealing to me in a sadistic kind of way, I guess. I'm really starting to run out of things to say about all of these Mario and Luigi costumes, but I'm still gonna try my best for these lovely chef boys. Like, you know, the red ascot on Chef Mario just really amazingly brings the whole look together. And while I do think Chef Luigi's overall outfit is better with the apron and the different style of hat, you know, it's just the red. It'll always come down to I prefer red over green, you know, it's quite simple. And here we have some of the biggest technicalities on this entire list, as obviously since SNES Mario is in Mario Kart Tour next to normal Mario, I'm just going to take that to assume we can count all of the SNES characters as their own forms. And I do really like the SNES characters in Tour, you know, I wish we did get the rest of the cast in there, you know. It's always fun to pan the camera around and watch the sprite spin. It's just something inherently satisfying about it. Although obviously these three are lower simply because I think of them as lower than the rest of the SNES cast, so no hard feelings, I just think the other five are more appealing to me. And next we see how much not having an utterly hideous design can do for you. Like, all three of these designs just have so many lovely, vibrant, appealing parts to them, you know. There's nothing I can complain about. The reason that I put light blue at the top of this trio is mainly because I appreciate him not just having a plain white shirt, you know, I think that looks a bit more appealing. And I also really like his shoes. I'd quite happily have them in real life, you know. Some things are just better with hints of orange. The artists I just really appreciate as a more casual look for the bros. And like, even though it's obligatory, the fact that there are little paint splatters on their aprons just inherently make them more appealing, you know. But the reason that Luigi is ahead of Mario in this instance at least is probably just because I'm used to Painter Luigi being in Tour. So seeing Painter Mario is just almost jarring, like it looks almost unnatural to me, so. Next to the more classically designed Pac-Man characters, and I've just always appreciated this trio for being just such perfectly wacky inclusions to put into the arcade games. I think the fact that all three of them are designed in the same way is what puts them next to each other in terms of ranking them for me. Blinky is above the other two for me though, simply because I appreciate the colour red and I really enjoy his ridiculously simplistic design, you know. It's as simple as that for me. We're starting to get into the really unique Mario and Luigi costumes now. You know, the ones that truly feel special compared to the rest. Like Builder Luigi obviously has a really nice yellow and green combo, and Samurai Mario has a beautiful set of red armour and the really distinct 6-coin pattern on his helmet. And while Mario Satellaview obviously has a lovely chrome flourish to him, something about the basic bubble space helmets make the astronaut bros just as appealing to me, you know. I don't really think of Peach as a character that gives much, you know, mother, but then costumes like Wintertime will turn up and just completely change my perception of her. Just everything about it comes together to look so elegantly cozy. Like especially the peacoat is so beautifully simple, I just love it. But I do have to say the thing that brings this up the most is the fact that it's all black. You know, if this was pink, I would not think of it this highly. But just something about black is Peach's colour in this instance, you know? And with that, we are only halfway through the ranking. And I think it works out because this is where I think we go from characters that I like to characters that I love. So get ready for a lot more gushing. Starting the second half, we have the first three properly lovely Yoshi and Shy Guy colours. Compared to similar colours that are lower on the list, you know, Green Yoshi has a much more vibrant shade of green on his body than Green Shy Guy, and Orange Shy Guy not only has a better shade of orange, but his shade of blue is much more palatable on his shoes than with Orange Yoshi, you know? And Blue Yoshi is just an all-around banger. I always appreciate a good mix of purple and blue, especially when they contrast like this, so this colour just hits right, you know? This set of Mario and Luigi costumes I just find really vibrant and happy, and I can just really get on board with all of them. Like, I find all the white on the golf and the swimwear bros just really help them pop out and feel a lot more vibrant. And the American theming on the golf bros and the little floaty tube on Mario swimwear, I personally just find quite endearing, so that helps as well. I've always found Lederhosen Luigi just really adorable, like especially the fact that his shade of green perfectly fits the hat. It just works for me. Yellow and red always works as a colour combination, so Builder Mario hits perfectly, and Aviator Mario is just such an inherently cool concept that I can't help but love, especially all the vibrant red patches on his outfit. And here we have the lowest ranked, you know, standard form Bowser's minion with Kamek. It's like, I do appreciate him, but he's just not as cute as all of the other Bowser minions, so he just inherently falls down a few notches in my mind. Plus his attitude and voice can get a bit grating on me in a way that no other minion does. So it's just all of these minor negatives sort of drag him down compared to all of the other minions. And here are the highest rated Inklings. I just think these are the most vibrant out of the 6, you know? Something about them just hits right in a way that the others don't for me. Although Purple Inkling is above Pink because once again I appreciate not having a plain white shirt just ever so slightly more. But yeah, if I'm ever going to play as Inkling boy or girl, I will pretty much always spring for these two, unless I feel like spicing it up with anything other than green. Here are the next couple of SNES forms, and while I did put Mario, Luigi and Peach above their base forms, I do think, especially with Toad, there is something just that bit more endearing about his normal form compared to his SNES form, if that makes sense. And before you ask, yes, SNES Yoshi is above normal Yoshi pretty much just because I think the tongue sticking out is funny. So, and speaking of normal Toad, here he is, alongside somehow his only colour variant. And like I've been saying, this is the only correct form of better red than dead, so that's why normal Toad is above blue. And while Party Time Toad is a very sweet costume, I don't really think it does too much to improve over normal Toad. I think maybe if it was purple Toad instead of red Toad, it might have been more appealing. But that's probably just because I think purple Toad is more vibrant than normal Toad, and it's obviously still a lovely costume either way. Next is both of the Lakitus, and I think that Lakitu is easily the most over-hated character in the entire Mario Kart series. Like, I don't understand how anyone can not like the idea of the Flag Boy being an actual playable character. You know, especially because Lakitu doesn't really get to be playable anywhere else. It's nice for him to have his time in the sun somewhere. And his Party Time outfit is a lovely look for a lovely character. You know, all three of the costume pieces really bring it together. And I really appreciate the fact he has a green shell to properly distinct him from normal Lakitu's red shell. You know, it's the little things. And now it's time for the first of the darling pit crew Toads. Although these two are less darling than the others for colour related reasons. Like the shoes and especially the gloves are lovely on both of them. It's just their main suits, you know, the shade of green and purple just really don't sit right with me. They're just such drab shades in my opinion. And it's like especially purple Toad would probably be the highest rated of all the pit crews if it had a more vibrant shade, but I still do appreciate them, you know. All of these costumes, for one reason or another, are really cool to me. Like Vacation Luigi is just such perfect, smart casual. Like, I've just appreciated him from the moment I saw him, like no notes. Perfect outfit. Gold and especially Ice Mario are just such lovely looking recolours of Metal Mario, and I think they also just fit better with Metal Mario's animations and voice clips and all those sorts of things. Like, these two just hit a lot better. And the penguin suits are just too stupid to not work. Like, especially the very vibrant blue on Penguin Mario just looks amazing to me. I don't know who at Namco suggested chucking in Don-chan into Arcade GPDX, but I will be forever thankful to them. He's just such an endearing little dude, you know, how can you not appreciate him being here? And I don't know if his costumes are proper references to the games, but they make him even sweeter. Like, especially the strawberry one is so vibrant and matches perfectly with the colour of his face and everything. Just no notes, utterly spectacular. And here are our first Birdos, and I just absolutely adore everything about Birdo. So the fact that her lowest colours are this high up says a lot about her. Orange is the lowest, mainly because I prefer the more contrasting colours of all of the other body and bow combinations, but hers still works, you know. And while I can understand why people would rate green the lowest, I just appreciate it because I see her as sort of, you know, lemon and lime Birdo. I think it's quite sweet in that regard, to me at least, but that's probably just because I appreciate her more than most people. I can see it like that, you know. For these and the upcoming black and white colours of characters, I really appreciate how they take what could have been the most drab out of all of the recolours and make them just really vibrant in their own way. Like, not only do the shoes perfectly contrast the base colours, but obviously you've got that lovely bit of red going down the back that really helps these variants to stand out, you know? Like, there's a reason that these two recolours are the only ones to be high-end in Tour, you know? Even if they're not my favourite, they certainly feel the most premium. It is now time to start, but also sadly finish, monkeying around, because I have always held the Kongs in sort of equal regard to each other. I just appreciate all of these funky monkeys equally, I guess. Although obviously I do appreciate the funkiest the most. And Dixie's the lowest of the 3D Kongs, not for like her voice or any of those other types of reasons. I just genuinely don't think pink is her colour. I think red would have been a lot better, like with Diddy Kong, you know? But I still do appreciate her. And now we get into some of the princess's truest serves with their sailor and yukata costumes. Like, I know I've been critical of other princess looks that don't really have dresses, but something about the white on orange of Daisy Sailor just hits so perfectly for me. And the yukata looks are just incredible, and not just because of the minion representation with the masks. Like, all the colour choices and the references and the patterns on them, and even the incorporation of the gems found in their normal dresses, they just hit utterly perfectly. It's just a shame that the other princesses didn't get outfits like this, because oh my god would they jump up straight to the top 10 with those. I've always loved Isabelle, but at this point I'm not sure it's because of how she actually is within games, or because of the fan memes surrounding her. Like, yeah, I love how sweet she is towards everything and everyone, but it's just really funny to imagine her as this, like, demonic dog who's just out to get everyone. It's why I love her so much in Mario Kart, because it's a way for her to truly go mad, you know? Like, you have not lived until you have seen her spam an entire fire flower. I just wish there was more to say here, though, in the sense of she really should have gotten her winter outfit as well. Like, it is literally just a recolor. Like, they did an entire female villager model just so that both genders could be represented, but they didn't change the colour of Isabelle's top. Like, utterly rude, but oh well, it's better to get one of her than none of her. And here is where green and purple pit crew Toad would have been if they actually bothered to be nice and vibrant. Like, all of the colour choices here just work perfectly, you know? Especially the red on blue and pink on orange just hit right. And they even managed to make yellow on green work somehow. And Builder Toad is obviously a really cute costume as well. You know, I would maybe prefer if it was a yellow Toad rather than a blue Toad. But obviously Blue Toad is the only one who's been able to use the Builder power-up, so it makes sense for what it is. And I just really love the incorporation of a hammer into the artwork and trick animations. I was so glad when Tuxedo Mario rocked up to Mario Kart Tour, because I have always loved this look for him. Like I said with Chef Mario, the red on white just looks amazing. And in general, Mario sweeps up really well. Like, the tuxedo is just immaculate. Like, no notes. These three Shy Guys are above their equivalent coloured Yoshis, pretty much because I prefer Shy Guy as a character. You know, apart from that, there isn't much separating them. I don't know how they figured this out, but the black shoes on white Shy Guy work just as well as the blue shoes on white Yoshi. Like, I don't know how they figured it out, but it just does. I'll mention it now as well, that despite my lacking appreciation for the colour brown, I do think it's very tasteful on all of the different colours of Shy Guys. Like, it just works for each of them. Next is Honey Queen, who I've always just had a real soft spot for. Like, just look at her, you know, pussy out, doesn't care. You know, you can't buy that kind of elegance. Like, I don't know why they haven't brought her back already. Like, I just think she's a really well-designed character, and I will always defend a deep cut edition till the bitter end. So, I can't help but love her. The red, pink, and light blue variants of characters are pretty much always at the top of the pile for me. Like, I do wish the shoes on Red Yoshi were a slightly more vibrant shade of blue, but other than that, all of the colour choices here are just utterly perfect. And while I do love these two of Yoshi's tour costumes, I do slightly wish they picked a different colour for them rather than just basic green. Like, I think a nice snowy white on Reindeer Yoshi and pink with green shoes on Egg Hunt would have popped out a lot more than what we got, but they are still utterly adorable costumes either way. Next are what I like to call the Royal Bros, which I find to be absolutely gaudy in the best way possible. Like, normal Luigi Knight is cool enough. Like, Gold Knight Luigi is the most unnecessary costume that ever came to tour, but I still just absolutely adore the audacity of it, you know, I can't help but just get behind it in that sense. And while I don't think King Mario's main outfit looks the best, the inevitable cape and crown that it got really make it work, you know, it truly brings it all together to look amazing. Here we have the last of the Peach and Daisy costumes, and I think what makes these ones truly stand out are just how positively vibrant they are. Daisy, Fairy and Swimwear I really love just because they're so flowery, you know, it's very appropriate. You know, they have really happy, vibrant colours and something about them just makes me joyous, you know? And I already enjoy the notion of driving around a go-kart in a dress, so bumping that up to being a wedding dress is just even better for me, you know? And with Daisy tie dress, you know, the only issue with it is its name, because, like, for me this has every single positive that I've mentioned about the dresses before, just rolled into one with a parasol on top, you know, no notes. While Gladiator DK isn't the most complex of costumes, I think it's something about the theming of monkey becoming warrior that just makes this one really entertaining for me. But this is still an extremely well designed costume, you know, especially the helmet and the cape with a shoulder guard just really bring it together. You know, the only issue, apart from maybe wanting a more fancy sword, is that more men aren't dressing like this these days. And here are all four Paulines. The reason that I find her better than Peach and Daisy is simply because not only do I think she's better designed, but I just think she has a more fun attitude than both of them, you know, she has a better character in my opinion. And I find all of her costumes just as amazing as her. Although maybe with like Pauline Cowgirl, I don't think it would be higher than her if the hat, shirt and boots didn't match perfectly. With Rose and Party Time though, to me they literally just feel like Pauline's normal look, but like objectively better in their own ways. Like, I adore the scarf and beautiful gradient on Pauline Rose, but I just think the sort of disco ball aesthetic makes Party Time slightly edged out for me. Next is both PD Piranhas, and while I do love him for being a big goofy guy, I don't really love him for much else, which isn't why he's any higher. Like, I love his design and pretty much everything about him. It's just that I do prefer slightly cuter characters. Like, there is a certain sweetness to PT Piranha, but not as much as a lot of characters above him, you know? And the main reason that gold is higher than regular in this instance is simply because I find that the white spots work slightly better on that variant. Plus the fact they went all the way and made his tongue gold, it just hits right with me. Next is the first of the male Koopalings with Iggy, and I have absolutely no problems with him. I just sort of prefer the other ones more. Like, I love his kooky attitude, but his sort of tall light green hair and shell mixed with his overall lankiness, it just doesn't hit quite as well as the other Koopalings in my book. Next are the exploration themed Toad and Toadettes, and while they are utterly adorable, it's just their general theme sort of keeps them out of the top 100 for me. Apart from Toad and Toadette being characters that I just generally enjoy more, what sets their explorer costumes apart from Mario, Luigi and Peach's is just the headlamp. Like, I just find it really sweet, you know? And while the astronaut suits look great, just something about the fact that Toad and Toadette's heads are already white and the suits are white, it just makes them not hit as well as Astronaut Mario and Luigi, you know? Plus the fact that the devs insisted on using Blue Toad for pretty much all of his tour costumes does make it feel like a bit of a missed opportunity when I think the other colours looked a bit better in astronaut suits. Next are the rest of the Animal Bros, and yeah, I just think these colour palettes are a lot more appealing to me than the Tanuki and Kitsune looks. Like with the cap forms, the dark green patches on Luigi and light yellow patches on Mario really help bring those looks together for me. And I just think the white colour palette is an infinitely better look for Tanuki Mario. Like, I know that because in the platforming games it gives you invincibility, like a star, so it was inevitably going to have some form of yellow on it, but I just absolutely adore the yellow stripes on the tail. Like, it utterly brings it all together for me. And now we get on to the last of the main human characters with the absolute mother of all Lumas, Rosalina. It's just like, ever since I first saw her in Mario Kart Wii and had no idea who she was and just assumed she was like Peach's mother or something, I've just absolutely adored her. Especially because she just has such a chill demeanour. And especially in Mario Kart 7, her dress almost looks like a nightie, like she's driving around in her pyjamas, and I absolutely love that for her. And while I do love the overall look of her Halloween costume, it's just something about that deep dark shade of purple is just not exactly her colour, so it's just ever so slightly below the main variant here. On to more of the Toads and Toadettes, and I like to think of this bunch of costumes as the ones that truly sum up how goofy these guys are. But in the mix here is obviously regular Toadette, who is above some of her other costumes simply because I think her basic look is utterly iconic, you know? Talented, brilliant, gaslight, gatekeep, girl boss, everything and everything. But away from that, even though Toad Taurus is obviously just a few little costume pieces on top of regular Toad, I just think it works. And I don't know who on the Mario Kart Tour team was made to pick out who would get a sailor costume, but whoever decided it should be Daisy and Toadette deserves all the love in the world. And obviously the animal outfits are just plain adorable. And like, even though they probably picked Yellow Penguin Toad because that was the main one in New Super Mario Bros. U Deluxe, I'm still so glad they went with that one over blue. It looks so much better. On to a few more of the Birdos, and these colour schemes just work. Like, I know that Black and White share the exact same colour scheme as Black and White Yoshi, but I mean, those ones didn't need any changing, you know? And with Red, even though it has the same thing as Orange, where the body and bow colours don't really contrast each other, I think that the pink really accentuates it here, you know? It makes it better in its own way. And speaking of Red, I think this is the best time to mention how lovely I think the back spikes look on every single colour of Birdo. Like, I can't possibly explain it without rambling, but something about their size and position, just utterly perfect, you know? Next are a few more of the Koopalings, and I think if there's one thing you're going to notice over the top 100 is me struggling to find new ways to say I like turtles. Like, I'll never be able to give enough credit to all of these guys' designs, especially their shells. I utterly love the different colours that they come in. But it's like, when there are so many other turtles that I prefer to them, you know, I just sort of can't think of as many positives to say, if that makes any sense. And here we see where Yoshi, Reindeer and Egg Hunt could have ended up if they had more inspired choices of Yoshi colour. Like, I think both of these costumes work so well, mainly due to their commonality of being yellow Yoshis with orange shoes. Not to take away from the actual costume pieces themselves, of course. Like, I love how the gold egg is kind of reminiscent of tin-foiled chocolate eggs, and I utterly adore the boxing gloves on Kangaroo Yoshi. Like, I don't normally think of him as that violent, but just seeing him in boxing gloves is just perfectly adorable, threatening aura. Next are the rest of Rosalina's looks, and starting with the animals, I do think the sort of slight dressy aspect to Tanuki Rosalina works quite well, and the black instead of light blue on Cat Rosalina looks incredible. Although, like with Cat Peach and Tanuki Mario, just those sorts of non-dressy / brown aspects bring them down relatively. The other outfits all just have no notes though. Like, all of the same positives I had for the previous chef and swimwear looks carry over here, and Volendam just looks incredibly cultured, and I love the nice colourful bouquet of roses she constantly carries around. And while Rosalina Aurora's dress might just be the prettiest thing I've ever seen on a woman, there's just something about the red dress and headband of Fire Rosalina that just edges it out for me and makes that the absolute best look Rosalina has ever had. Next to the final two SNES variants, and since I want to save all of the gushing about Bowser and Koopa Troopa for when I talk about their main variants, there isn't really much for me to talk about here. Like, for me, their sprites are ever so slightly off, which is why they aren't up alongside their normal variants, but they're still very sweet. You know, it's still Bowser and Koopa Troopa, you can't really go wrong. Now, before we get into what I consider the absolute best of the best, we just need to get through the last couple dozen Mii costumes. And yeah, these are all pretty much just really well modelled representations of cute Mario characters and or mythical Asian creatures, you know? They're all just really sweet. There's not much else to talk about. But special mention obviously goes to the Drain cover on top of the Rocky Wrench suit. Like, as you can tell, Rocky Wrench isn't my favourite character, but it's just one of those little details that I didn't need, but now I can't live without. Next are all of the Koopalings, and it's like, I didn't think that this kind of Mii suit with this set of characters would look this spectacular, but oh my god, it does. Like, their haircuts and everything are just represented so spectacularly, although the main thing that sets them apart, and the reason that Morton is last out of these 7 here, is the shade of yellow. Like, oh my god, does it pop out incredibly. I utterly adore it. And here, of course, is the best place to give Wendy the award for biggest singular improvement between variants, so congratulations to her. And here we have the top 8 Mii suits, all of which are based on characters that I love, and all of which have designs that I love. To give just a singular compliment to each of them, I love how Nabbit's face is on the back of the helmet with the bib tied up to be right and everything. I love the little wavy pattern on the back of Dolphin's head. The LED screen looking eyes on the back of Blooper's helmet is amazing. They picked the absolute perfect colour for the Power Billy Bud suit. I love how while all of Cheep Cheep's features are mainly on the helmet, they still keep the white patch on the belly consistent. I love the tasteful use of spots on the Wiggler suit. And of course, you can't help but adore the little arms on Monty Mole's helmet. Like, that is just utterly perfect. But the king of the Mii suits is the Spike one. And it's not necessarily because it's the best designed or has the best use of colour. It's literally just because Spike is my absolute favourite Mario character. You know, that's it, really. That's why he wins. Next is Poochie, which, like, if a year ago you said to me I'd be having to rank Poochie in amongst all the other Mario Kart characters, I'd be like, why am I ranking all the Mario Kart characters? But he's still just such an amazing character to have around, you know? He's got a really sweet design, and the fact that he drives around in the same way that you'll see a dog drive a car in real life is just endlessly endearing to me. I love the fact they actually went out of their way to chuck him in alongside Yoshi's Island in Tour. Next is one of the most unserious characters with King Bob-omb, who, while I obviously love his overall design and everything, it's just the fact that he's a giant sphere with a hat and limbs trying to drive a car that I just adore. And get ready to hear this kind of sentence a lot more from now on. The reason that I love the gold variant more than the normal variant is simply because I think gold is a better colour than black, you know? Plus the fact that they went out of their way to change the colour of the crown so that it wasn't the exact same. I just think it's a better overall look for him. Chargin' Chuck was definitely one of the most pleasant surprise characters to come to Tour. You know, even though he was in Golf Super Rush, I still didn't think he'd end up coming to a Mario Kart game, but here he is in all of his lovable bulky glory. And if I didn't think we'd see Chuck, I definitely didn't think we'd see a gold variant of Chuck, which is below the regular one this time, simply because I think normal Chargin' Chuck has a much more varied and interesting colour palette, you know? He's already got plenty of yellow on him, he didn't need to be overwhelmingly yellow. Next is Koopa Troopa, who is of course the visual definition of just a little guy. Like, he's basically just a turtle with shoes, and I absolutely love him for that, you know? For me, a lot of the time, the simpler the better with character designs, and Koopa Troopa is just the most perfect example of that for me. But out of all of the times that a variant of a character has been right next to the original form of a character, I think the most understandable example is the free-running Koopas, because at the end of the day, it is pretty much just the exact same turtle with a hat on. And at that point, it of course just boils down to which colours I think work better, which, as you can tell, I like to think I've been morally consistent. From one set of colour assorted turtles to another, next is the Hammer Bros. But yeah, the thing that puts the Bros above the Troopers for me is, one, because I think they have a more endearing facial design, and two, because I really love their cute little helmets, you know, safety first and all that. And not only are they individually ranked in terms of colour, but also in terms of what type of weapon I'd like to use the most, you know? It's all fun here. And now for the shortest segment out of this entire ranking. I just think characters look cooler when they have wings, you know? Simple as. And now for the second shortest segment. I think Roy is better than all of the previous Koopalings because he's nice and bulky, and I just think pink is a lovely colour for him. Next is Bowser Jr., and even though I prefer his utter dilf of a papa, I still love this little guy, you know? Like, his design and the fact he's basically just a small Bowser and everything is cute enough, but just the fact that he still always wears his bib is just really endearing to me. Like, it's a really cute extra feature for him to have. But with Pirate Bowser Jr., the outfit to me adds so little that it just ends up taking away from his charm, at least to me. Like I just implied, Bowser is practically perfect to me, so any real change to that is inevitably going to end up lower than him, but I still do love Dry Bowser. Like, to me, he's always been more than just a clone. Like, not only does he have a really unique design, but as the games have gone on, he's been shown more and more times to basically be a separate character to Bowser, and just in general, I love him. And in this instance, the gold variant is lower than the original because I think the red highlights to Dry Bowser are what make him feel so cool to me. So to lose that just, you know, inherently drops it below. I feel like I'm contradicting what I've been saying about the past few characters by putting Dry Bones above them all, but oh well. Like, just the way that he acts like a zombie, and all of his cute little clackety noises, and the adorable light blue gloves and boots, they just all add up for me to put him above the rest. Although gold is above the regular form in this instance because I do think the colour scheme just works that bit better, especially with the light blue pupils. Those really help it to stand out for me. Next, it's time for the rest of the Shy Guys, starting with the final normal colour variations. Like, there's just not that much else to add at this point. These colour schemes just work perfectly. But gold is at the bottom of this batch simply because I think there is something slightly missing without having a white mask, you know? But it still does work. And similarly to White Shy Guy, I think that the body and shoe colour combos work just as well as their Yoshi equivalents despite being different, you know? They hit so well. But Red Shy Guy does show that you cannot mess with perfection, you know? Just an absolute specimen. But there is one way you can improve perfection, and that's by giving it career options. There's a lot to go through here, but starting with something that I've said before, the red ascot on white chef suit just works perfectly. It's mainly the backpack of jewels that puts the explorers ahead of the chef for me, but also obviously the inclusion of a headlamp is much appreciated, you know. It's still a very endearing touch.
And the 300 odd placement distance between normal yellow and light blue Shy Guy should tell you why they're in the placements they are here. And while there are several aspects that I find to be better with the Explorer Shy Guys, it's just the fact that the ninjas wield knives that puts them above for me. Plus with the unique head and waistband colours as well as the quite nicely contrasting shoes, I just think they work a bit better overall. But in terms of pink being above blue, I just think the utter garishness of pink works for me. I don't know what else to say. Next is the last kind of standalone tour costume with Builder Toadette. And she's not up here necessarily because I love her design. It's more so just because of the hammer. Like I've alluded to several times, I think that Toadette is just the absolute definition of a girl boss. So to see her fling around a hammer, you know, something about that is just inherently amazing to me. Plus the helmet does look really nice. You know, yellow is absolutely her colour, but it's more so the cherry on top of the metal flavoured sundae here. Next are the last of the Birdos, you know, the true fashion icons of this series, because all of these colour combinations are just utter perfection to me. Like, I'm no Coco Chanel or Meryl Streep or whoever, but just the way all of these colours just accentuate and contrast each other, it's just utterly perfect to me. But of course, nothing can beat the original, hence why Pink Birdo is at the top. And I think the thing that puts her above the rest is because while I said that the back spikes do work really well with every other colour, it's just something about them matching the bow just feels perfect to me. Like, it feels like if Birdo does pick out her own clothes, she purposefully went for something that matched her own body parts, which just absolute queen behaviour, you know, no other explanation needed. And here we see where King Boo Luigi's Mansion could have gotten for me if he had an endearing design. Like, I already love regular Boo as he is, so to have him, but bigger and with a crown, it just feels right, you know? Like, Birdo is currently my most played character in 8 Deluxe, and that's mainly because she was, you know, the first character added in about 5 years, and she had all the different colours, and it just made me play as her for like 2 months straight. But you know, before that it was King Boo, and he only has the one look, so it just tells you how much I appreciate having him around. And in this instance, the original edges out the gold variant, simply because I think the original has a better colour palette. Like, something about the pink tongue on the white with the gold crown just beats the gold and silver look for me, you know? Now for Nabbit, who's always been one of the coolest characters for me. Like, just the fact that he randomly appeared in New Super Mario Bros. U for seemingly no reason, and has since then just managed to stick it out, appearing in spin-off after spin-off. I just think it's a brilliant story, you know?
And it helps that he has an amazing design as well. Like, I love the bunny theme and his cute little ears that flap about. I love his big wide eyes and his totally inconspicuous Bowser Jr. bib. And of course the fact that he'll always hold on to his goodie bag. He's just so cute. Like, I seriously don't get why he wasn't put in over Peachette in the last wave of Mario Kart 8 Deluxe DLC. Like, how was he not the obvious choice, you know?
Next we have the 4 characters I'd like to be surrounded by the most, with Bowser. Like, I've always just found him adorable with his big bulky design and lovable voice and kissable lips, you know, it's all just pretty much perfect to me. But a design like his is a perfect blank canvas to be improved with costumes, and while I love the lights on Santa Bowser's back, I love a man in a suit more, so Dr. Bowser takes the edge. But something about the design, mixed with the fact that they actually referenced Meowser, just puts him above the rest for me, you know? Despite all of my gushing, cuteness will always win out in the end for me. So next is Monty Mole. Like, I already find moles to be really cute creatures, so when you anthropomorphize them and give them whiskers and a cute little buck tooth, like, it's just gonna work for me. Like, sorry if I'm not describing him well enough, this is just one of those things where there's so many things that I could say, that I just struggled to find an example, you know? No notes on him, he's just one of the best. And now on to the highest rated Koopaling, as well as Turtle in general, we have Larry. Like, I don't know what it is, just something about the fact that he's the most plain Jane Koopaling has always really endeared him to me, you know? And it helps that his plain Jane design is amazing. Like, I love his shade of blue and the mohawk and the star on the side of his face, you know? He's my little star. And of course, the only thing that would make him even better are a pair of cute little boots, a cute little scarf, and a cute little starry snowflake design all over him, so it really adds up that Larry Wintertime is above him. But now it's time to talk about my absolute favourite character. But if you did need a recap before I got on to that, good for you. Let's talk about my number one. So, am I cheating with this ranking? Yes, but do I care? No, because Wiggler to me is second to none, and I'm definitely sure this is what that phrase means. Like, I know I'm basically ranking the same character at number one twice, but can you blame me? It's Wiggler. Like, I don't know how you can argue that he's not the most innovative character in the entire Mario Kart series. Like, the fact that he has so many segments, meaning that he has a pair of arms above the pair of arms he actually uses for driving, and that extra pair has their own special animations and stuff, it's just so perfect to me. And the fact that he's the only character in the series to have a special animation when he gets hit with an item. Like, the devs know his worth, they knew what they were doing putting him in the series. And for the final time, the reason that the gold variant is below the regular variant is because obviously Wiggler is already a very yellow character, but all of the different colour highlights he has, like his shoes and his gloves, really help his palette to stand out. So to in essence take them all away just makes him that ever so slight bit off, although he's still obviously perfect. Although the fact that when Gold Wiggler gets angry, he takes on an almost pink gold looking hue, thus probably making him a statement about society and women's anger, does make him the most important character in the roster. And with that, everything and everyone has been properly put next to each other and judged. But yeah, I have had a lot of fun doing this. Like, I enjoy ranking pretty much anything, so this was all play and no work on my end. I just hope that, you know, this was enjoyable and totally non-mind numbing to watch me just ramble on and on and on. I also hope that none of my rankings can be found to be upsetting, you know? Like, I appreciate the viewpoint of not liking certain characters because they can be seen as filler, but like, apart from Peach Ed and 8 Deluxe, I've never seen any character like that. Like, I just think that one way or another, every single character has a reason to be there. Apart from, again, Peachette, because there was no reason for any other Tour character to not be there, you know? But yeah, if you have any questions or concerns, do let me know. The only character that would ever be able to surpass Wiggler for me would be Spike, or if they give him costumes, probably more specifically Fire Spike. So if he ever gets added, you know how this list can be amended. But bye bye, have a nice day.